Well, Maryland voters are going to head to the polls in November to elect the next governor. And Wes Moore secured his name on the ballot after a very tight Democratic primary last month.
And this morning, Wes Moore joins us live for more insight into his campaign. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure.
It's great to see you this morning. You know, there's so much to talk about in such a short amount of time. I want to start with local issues to the DMV, and when we talk about Montgomery County. First of all, let's talk infrastructure and just what people want to know about getting around. Let's get right into some of the issues like the 270 toll lanes and when it comes to, getting things moving on the rails. What are your plans there?
Yeah. So, we've got to make sure we're addressing the issue of both infrastructure and just the congestion that people are feeling. It's environmentally unsound, and it's also just an absolute psychological drain on people. And so we are going to ensure that we're going to do things like fixing the American Legion Bridge over this decade, which we're committed to. But it is also about how are we thinking about 270 in a different type of way. The challenge that I have with the current proposal is it doesn't factor in things like mass transit, which we have to have involved, reversible lanes, thinking about environmental impacts. And so we are going to put a core focus on transportation, mass transportation, moving people from where they live to where they work, but we're going to do it in a way that focuses on equity, both in terms of who's building it and who can actually use it, in terms of the environment, making sure it's environmentally sound. And also the third lens is making sure you have community involvement and community engagement inside of the decisions. But this is a high priority. We have capital coming from the federal government to do it and prioritize it. And in our administration, we are going to do just that.
Along with infrastructure, what are a couple of your other top priorities if elected?
Yeah, I know we really are focusing on ensuring that we can create pathways for work, wages, and wealth for every single Marylander and for every single Maryland family, that we are going to make sure that our politics is more inclusive, but build a Maryland where we're leaving nobody behind. And so that means things like increasing a basic minimum wage so people are not working jobs, in some cases multiple jobs, and still living below the poverty line. That we are going to ensure we have strong public schools, 21st century schools that are both teaching our students how not just to be employees, but how to be employers, and also starting earlier for all of our young children and investing in apprenticeship programs and trade programs. And we're going to ensure that our families can feel safe. Public safety, there's no higher priority for any chief executive than making sure your communities are safe. And people need to feel safe in their own communities, in their own homes, and also in their own skin. Those are the priorities that we think about with our administration.
When you look at things on a nationwide scale, Maryland's a bit of a political enigma. It's such a heavily Democratic state, but yet you had a Republican governor for 8 years who had some of the highest approval ratings of any governor in the entire country. Did you see anything that you liked that came out of that office the last 8 years, and anything that you might take a page from the playbook from?
Yeah, I think when we think about the idea of partnership, what we're really looking to do is build a sense of partnership for our administration. And that means being able to work in close coordination with the legislature, being able to work in close coordination with the local jurisdictions to be able to ensure that we are going to prioritize and get big things done as jurisdictions. I'm thankful for the fact that at a time like now that we had a chief executive who understood the dangers of this MAGA Republican movement. And I'm thankful that even Larry Hogan, after seeing the Republican nominee, the current Republican nominee, his answer was, I would not give him a tour of government office, let alone do I want him to be the next governor. And so I appreciate that from the current governor. Yet at the same time, I know that the things that we are building for and the things that I'm asking voters to do is not to vote against something. I'm asking voters to vote for something and to be hopeful for the future that we can actually build together.
You garnered some 32% of the vote in a crowded field. How do you plan to, unify Democrats moving forward?
Well, the thing that I really want to do is making sure that we're unifying Marylanders. I'm thankful for in a very crowded and a very talented field, and frankly, a field amongst friends, that we were able to have a spirited primary battle, and I was able to be successful in that. But also we saw that just days after the primary, we saw how Tom Perez and Peter Franchot both came out, and the others came out and endorsed us in unison and said we have to move collectively inside of the future. But the thing that I also want to push on is that we're not just going out and asking Democrats to vote for us. We're going out and asking all Marylanders and going to every part of the state. When I was a combat veteran, I led soldiers in combat in Afghanistan. And I always say is that the one question I never once asked my soldiers when I was leading soldiers in combat was, what's your political party? It didn't matter. We had one job, one goal, one mission.
Last
And
question.
I have the same exact focus.
Last question for you. We'll do this on a lighter note. I know you've gotten a lot of big endorsements, and on a national scale, maybe Oprah might be the biggest one. You did a show for her network a few years back. When you first talked to her, what conversation did you guys have about Maryland?
Well, she loves Maryland. She started her career in Baltimore, and she said she feels like she became a woman in Baltimore, and that's really where she started everything. But I think the thing that she sees in Maryland is the same thing that I see in Maryland, and the same thing Marylanders see in themselves. There's a hope that there is no reason for any other state to beat us, that we have better assets than anyone else. The challenge is right now in Maryland, we are asset rich and we are strategy poor. But if we go forward together, this is going to be our decade. And she knows that, and I think Marylanders know that as well.
All right, Wes Moore, thank you so much for your time. Democratic candidate for governor of Maryland. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All right. Appreciate you joining us this morning.